Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. Today, I would like to talk about the damage that is caused when overachievement is expected. Karen, can you kick us off?
I can. I mean, when you ask this question, the thing that came to mind with me, I'm of the baby boomer generation, the bottom of that generation where you are not given a gold star for just showing up at camp or whatever it was. So I think when I hear that question, what comes to mind for me is by doing that, whether it's an overachievement or anything where you're being given some kind of thing for not necessarily reaching a standard, are we impacting someone's intrinsic motivation? Because that intrinsic motivation is one of those intangibles that we all look for as for our employees. Like, what are they motivated about? We want them to be motivated internally. We don't want to have to give them a gold star, a raise, a promotion, a bonus, or whatever to get them to perform. They should want to do it internally themselves. So I think that if you're just rewarding because you're rewarding, you damage that intrinsic motivation.
But does that not speak to the point that we're making, that if you reward people for overachieving, overachievement becomes the point, and then...
Yeah, it's the same thing, in my opinion.
I have definitely seen situations where the overwork has become the new norm, and trying to pare back to the reasonable load now looks like, but you're slacking. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing because we've overloaded you for so long that now that's the new expectation, to your point.
Yeah.
I think it's very context specific. In terms of, if you've got somebody doing a job which is inherently sort of quite short effort to reward, and you're just measuring them on the numbers on something like that, then which is the most common situation where you get people into sort of an overwork situation. That is inherently unhealthy. And there's a reason why, for example, in the European Union we have the working time directive to try and stop that kind of thing happening. Where you've got a more complex job, like say somebody doing a complex B2B sale or something like that, it's very difficult to know what achievement is anyway. What is the right bar? And you quite often get situations where managers just increase the bar every year until the poor person collapses and resigns and goes somewhere else, or is perceived to be failing because they're not meeting the new standards. But I think it's very context specific. I don't think you can be generalist about it, even down to like the motivation stuff. Some people don't care what other people think, but for other people it's absolutely the most important thing in the world. So yeah, I guess context matters.
I have a client right now who is in this situation, in that there's been this level of overachievement for so long that now it's expected, and she can no longer meet it. It's just become unbearable. But she doesn't know how to basically say, this is untenable. I can't do this anymore.
But I think that a perfect example of that is kind of what went on with Simone Biles. She knew her own boundaries and safety, but yet she's the perfect example of an overachiever. But yet all the negativity she got about her making decisions that are specific to what is right for her in her scenario, we really have to look at like I remember in my corporate career, you're constantly, absorbing other people's jobs kind of per se, but you're not necessarily ever rewarded for it. And then the minute you say something about it, you're just whining. So I think that in the back to what Simon was saying, contextually in the corporate world, that's kind of my experience of how that constantly rewarding somebody or not rewarding them for overachieving, with them thinking like, in my mind, I'm intrinsically motivated by the idea of overachieving. So when that carrot keeps being dangled, you keep working until you just can't. And that really ultimately is what you're saying, Robyn.
Yeah.
I think from the employee side, the solution that seems to be the most tenable is have the conversation, and with the assumption that it's going to go badly and you're going to be changing positions to find a new role that is scaled appropriately. From the management side, I see it as an actual failure on the management side. And what is a better approach is having that conversation. When you are lauding their achievements, how do we also include in that conversation very clearly, here are the boundaries that we should be maintaining, right? If we let our employees burn themselves out, that's our fault.
Yeah. I have another client whose corporation does not allow emails between 3 p.m. on Friday and 10 a.m. on Monday. They shut down the email server.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So
I love it until I'm working over the weekend and I can't get an email, but but
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
like, I love that that company setting the tone and the, you know, putting a kind of basically, this is our philosophy, this is our, you know, brand per se. I love that.
I violently disagree. I think that if
Okay.
you have to put that kind of policy in, you failed.
Oh, no
Because
question.
you've created a culture where people can't say no.
Yeah.
You should be able to send an email on a Sunday morning, and whoever receives it should be able to go, I'm not going to deal with that now. And
Sure.
that it should be safe to do so. And if they can't say that, then I suspect there's lots of other things going on where they're feeling pressure to overwork.
Because I do feel like there is a certain amount of pressure. Like, let's say I do send an email on Saturday morning and you get it, Simon, and you're like, well, but if I don't answer it, then it looks like she's working and I'm not, and then that looks bad. And so let me just answer it. And so you end up with this kind of creep thing.
And that's what you got to fix.
How do we fix that?
I think psychological safety would be a huge thing, to be able to, for people to feel safe not to participate in that. Because of course the other thing is, you know, we're all about flexible working, especially with COVID times and that sort of thing. Some people may be working on a Saturday so they can take Monday off. You know, so it is down to conversations.
Do you
and
see
respect.
that happening a lot over here, Robyn? With any, like, I rarely hear people talking about the ideal flexible working environment where you could choose to take the Monday off and not have it impact the rest of the team and all that. Everybody continues, and you're not getting 50,000 emails over that day that you take off. That's what's supposed to be your day off, but it's really not because everybody else is working. You know, it's like, it has to come down to leadership. Leadership has to set the tone for that. If they continue to set the tone by sending emails and expecting you to answer, then that tells you what they, you know, promote and what they want.
And I think that second aspect is the key. What is the expectation that's set?
Yeah.
I have worked in environments that are global, that are 100% remote, where yes, some people are working over the weekend for that specific reason. We're taking other days off during the week. The time zones are a thing. You can't expect immediate responses. You know, my attitude had always been in that environment to make sure that there's a message waiting for the person when they're going to be coming online, right? If I know that I'm out of sync, great, let's do it so that they have the option to address that when they see fit in their particular schedule. But it was that I felt like I had the permission to ignore things as needed and to cue things up for other people to do at their own pace.
Yeah.
But are you truly ignoring it? I mean, like, like when I heard the word ignore, I felt like it was not, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, should we have to be forced into this predicament where we have to make decisions knowing it can impact, you know, our work reputation?
Yes, we're adults.
And we filter the world around us all the time. So why would we not filter at work? You don't respond to every sound and sight that you see. So,
but I do think that the expectation of the corporate world, at least in the US, is that it is exactly what I'm describing.
Yeah.
And that's what needs fixing, because if that's happening, other bad things will be happening too.
Yeah.
Because here in the US, I can definitely say that with COVID and the global economy, people in the US are expected to work all crazy hours to cover all the time zones. And that is our 10 minutes. So I'm going to have to cut us off there. Super complicated topic. I appreciate you guys putting in the effort to try and have this conversation in 10 minutes, and we'll have to do it again real soon.